I watched my brother's text appear on my phone at 11 a.m., asking if I wanted lunch, and my hand started shaking. His 2-year-old son had been in my house for 8 days straight while he and his wife gallivanted around New York City, and now he wanted to grab a casual bite to eat instead of picking up his kid. I had 6 children of my own running around, Halloween costumes spread across my living room floor, and a trip to Great Wolf Lodge planned in 2 days that this man was about to derail. I stared at the message, my jaw clenching. My husband looked up from his coffee, already reading my face. He'd been patient through this entire week, helping with baths and bedtime stories for a toddler who wasn't ours, never once complaining. But I could see the exhaustion around his eyes. Between his surgical schedule and managing 7 kids under our roof, we were stretched thin. They'd flown back to Florida last night. I knew because my brother posted Instagram stories of them at the airport, his wife smiling in designer sunglasses, both of them looking refreshed and carefree. Not once had they texted to ask about their son, not on his actual birthday, which was today, not to say they'd landed safely. Nothing. I texted back that I couldn't just drop everything, that I had 6 kids to manage and couldn't do last-minute plans. He pushed, saying they'd pay for lunch. Against my better judgment, I loaded all 7 kids into my van and drove to the restaurant they'd picked, a trendy place downtown that definitely wasn't kid-friendly. We waited 20 minutes in the parking lot. The kids were getting restless, my 3-year-old twins fighting over a toy in the back seat, the baby crying because she was hungry. I called my brother, straight to voicemail. I called again, same thing. Then the text came through. Sorry, something came up. My vision went red. I marched into that restaurant anyway, got food to go while juggling a screaming infant and trying to keep the older kids from knocking over displays. The hostess gave me sympathetic looks that made my humiliation complete. I paid with shaking hands, loaded everyone back up, and drove home in silence except for the children's chatter. The second I got the kids settled with their lunch, I called my brother again. This time, he picked up.
What the hell is wrong with you? I didn't even say hello. You blow off lunch after I dragged 7 kids across town, and you still haven't picked up your son? Jesus, calm down. His voice had that dismissive tone that always made my blood boil. We're jet-lagged. We'll get him later. Later? It's his birthday, your son's 2nd birthday, and you're too tired to even see him? You're being dramatic. It's just a birthday. He won't even remember it. Something snapped in me. What about our trip? I told you before you left that we have plans Thursday. I'm not taking your kid to a crowded water park without you there. Why not? You've got 6 already. What's one more? Because he's not my responsibility. My voice cracked. I did you a favor watching him for over a week. You were supposed to be back for his birthday. You promised. Look, about that. He paused, and my stomach dropped. We were thinking maybe you could keep him through the weekend. We need a few more days to decompress. I actually laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. Decompress? You just had 8 days in New York City while I've been doing round-the-clock childcare for your kid on top of my own 6. What exactly do you need to decompress from? You don't understand what our marriage is going through right now. Oh, I understand perfectly. And I did. I knew things about their marriage that would make most people's skin crawl, but I'd kept my mouth shut, trying to be supportive, trying to protect my brother's dignity. I was done with that now. You mean how she flew to the UK last month to meet some guy? How this New York trip was supposed to fix your marriage after she cheated on you for the 4th or 5th time? Yeah, I understand. Silence on the other end. How do you... he started. You told me, remember, when you were crying on my couch about how she left you? When you asked me to watch your son? So you could chase after a woman who clearly doesn't want to. Be married to you? Not fair. What's not fair is dumping your kid on me so you can play happy couple. What's not fair is missing his birthday. What's not fair is asking me to cancel my family's plans because you two can't get your act together. His voice turned cold. You know what?
Maybe this is why nobody
asks you for help. You're so uptight about everything. The kid is fine. You're fine. Stop being so dramatic about watching your nephew for a few days. A few days? Try over a week. And now you want more time? No, absolutely not. Come get him today. We're not coming today. His tone was final. We'll get him when we're ready. And for the record, I think you're being incredibly selfish about water park thing. He's 2. He'd have fun. But you are so worried about your perfect little family vacation that you can't make room for your nephew. That's when he said it. The thing that made me see red. Maybe if you weren't so controlling, people would actually want to be around you. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, watching the screen change. He'd blocked my number. I stood in my kitchen, surrounded by the chaos of 7 children, and felt something inside me break. Then it reformed into something harder, colder, done with being walked over. It was 5 p.m. now, 6 hours since that text about lunch. His son was still here, playing with blocks in my living room, completely unaware that his parents had dumped him, that they were somewhere in Florida, close enough to get him in 20 minutes, but choosing not to. I looked at that little boy, at his dark curls so much like my brother's, at the way he laughed at something my daughter said, and I made a decision. I pulled out my phone and started making calls. If my brother wanted to play games, fine, but he was about to learn that I was done being the family doormat. The first call was to my mom. She needed to know what was happening. The second call was going to be harder, but necessary. I pulled up the non-emergency line for child services and stared at the numbers. My husband walked into the kitchen, saw my face, and immediately understood. What do you need me to do? I need you to help me document everything. My voice was steady now, all the emotion locked down. Every text, every call, every broken promise, because this ends today. He nodded, his surgeon's calm settling over him. This was one of the things I loved about him. In a crisis, he didn't panic, he acted. But first, I needed to try one more avenue. I needed to find a way to contact my sister-in-law. Because if she knew what my brother had done, if she knew he'd blocked me and was refusing to get their son, maybe she'd be the rational one. Maybe she'd come get him. I was wrong about that. So very wrong. I went through my brother's social media, found his wife's profile, and sent her a message through Instagram. I kept it simple, non-accusatory, just the facts. Your son is still here. Your husband blocked my number. Please come get him, or let me know when you're picking him up. We have travel plans Thursday. The response came within minutes. I wish I'd never seen it. Keep him then. We need space to work on us. 5 words that changed everything. Not even a full sentence acknowledging their child, just a dismissal. An abandonment so casual it took my breath away. I screenshot that message. Then I went through and screenshot every text exchange with my brother from the past 2 weeks. The initial request to watch his son, my reminder about the birthday, my concerns about the water park, his flaking on lunch, all of it. My husband was already pulling up our home security footage, downloading clips that showed my brother dropping off his son 8 days ago, promising to be back by the birthday. Time-stamped proof of everything. Are you sure about this? He asked quietly, not questioning my decision, just making sure I'd thought it through. He blocked me. She told me to keep him. They're refusing to parent their own child. I looked at him. What choice do I have? You have every choice. He squeezed my shoulder. I'm asking if you're prepared for what comes next, because once you make that call, there's no taking it back. Your relationship with your brother is done. I thought about that, really thought about it. My twin brother. We'd shared a womb, grown up together, been through everything side by side. We'd moved to Florida from Arizona just 4 months ago, partly to be closer to him. I'd bent over backward trying to support him through his disaster of a marriage. And he'd blocked me for asking him to pick up his own son. The relationship is already done, I said. He just doesn't know it yet. I dialed the number. The woman who answered was professional, clinical. She asked questions and I answered them, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. Yes, the parents were in the area.
No, they weren't responding to requests to pick up their child. Yes, I had proof of abandonment. Yes, the child was safe and cared for currently. No, I could not continue to care for him indefinitely as I had 6 children of my own and prior commitments. She told me someone would be out within 2 hours to assess the situation. They might place him with me temporarily if I was willing, or they might place him in emergency foster care while they located the parents. I told her I'd cooperate fully with whatever they needed. When I hung up, my hands were still shaking. My husband pulled me into a hug and I let myself break for just a moment, let the tears come. Then I wiped my face, squared my shoulders, and went to play with the kids, all 7 of them. Because that little boy deserved a good rest of his birthday, even if his parents couldn't be bothered to show up for it. We did cake at 6. Chocolate with blue frosting, his favorite color, according to my brother. My kids sang happy birthday with enthusiasm, and their cousin blew out his candles with pure joy on his face. I took pictures, dozens of them, and posted them to my private Facebook with a caption about celebrating family. My brother could see it. He'd know what I was doing. Throwing him this party he should have been at. He didn't comment, didn't react, nothing. The caseworker arrived at 7:15. She was younger than I expected, maybe late 20s, with kind eyes that had seen too much. She interviewed me in the kitchen while my husband kept the kids occupied in the living room. I showed her everything, the texts, the Instagram message, the security footage, the timeline of 8 days that had stretched beyond any reasonable favor. "And you're his twin?" she asked, something flickering in her expression. "Yes. That must make this harder." "You'd think so." I met her eyes. "But watching him abandon his son makes it easier, actually. I know who he really is now." She spent time with the child, observing him, checking him over. He was healthy, happy, well-adjusted, no signs of abuse or neglect from his time with me or before. Just a regular 2-year-old who didn't understand why his parents hadn't come home. "Do you know where the parents are staying?" she asked. I gave her their address. The house they'd bought 6 months ago, 15 minutes from mine. Close enough to make this whole situation even more absurd. "I'll need to make contact with them tonight." She closed her notebook. "In the meantime, I'm going to file this as a case of child abandonment. Given that your family and the child is comfortable here, I'd like to place him with you temporarily unless you're unable to continue care." This was the moment. I could say no, could force the system to place him with strangers, could make this even messier and more traumatic for an innocent toddler, could punish my brother by making this as difficult as possible. But that wasn't who I was. Despite everything, despite my anger and hurt, I couldn't do that to my nephew. "He can stay through Thursday morning," I said. "We leave for our trip at noon. After that, I can't guarantee care. My husband and I both have work obligations." My husband was a pediatric craniofacial surgeon with a surgical schedule that couldn't be easily changed, and I had brand partnerships lined up from my social media work. Our trip had been planned for months. She nodded. "That's fair. I'll make sure the parents understand the timeline. If they don't pick him up by Thursday morning, we'll need to make alternative arrangements." After she left, I felt hollowed out, empty. I went through the motions of bedtime routines, baths and teeth brushing and story time, and when the house finally quieted down around 9, I collapsed on the couch next to my husband. "You did the right thing," he said. "Then why do I feel so terrible?" "Because he's your brother. Because this isn't how family is supposed to work." He pulled me closer. "But you protected a child. That's what matters." My phone buzzed. For a second, I thought maybe it was my brother, unblocking me, apologizing, saying he'd be right over. But it was my mom. "What did you do?" The text was accusatory, sharp. "Your brother just called me crying. How could you call CPS on family?" So he'd unblocked Mom, but not me. Interesting. I called her. She picked up on the first ring. "Mom, did he tell you that he's been refusing to pick up his son for almost 9 hours? That he blocked my number when I asked him to parent his own child? That his wife literally told me to just keep him because they need space?" Silence. "Did he mention any of that?" I pressed. "He said you were being unreasonable about your trip, that you wouldn't let him tag along."
I actually laughed. That's what he told? You? Mom, I agreed to watch my nephew for a week. They came back yesterday and still haven't picked him up. It's his birthday and they missed it. I didn't call CPS because of the trip. I called because they abandoned their child. Abandoned is a strong word. What would you call it when parents refuse to pick up their child and tell the caregiver to keep him indefinitely? Another pause, longer this time. Send me the texts, she finally said. I did, all of them, including the Instagram message from my sister-in-law. I waited, watching the dots appear and disappear as she typed and deleted responses. Oh, honey. Her voice was different when she called back, soft, sad. I had no idea. He didn't tell you the truth. No, he made it sound like you'd overreacted to a simple misunderstanding. She sighed heavily. What happens now? CPS is contacting them tonight. They have until Thursday morning to get him, or the state makes other arrangements. I told them I can keep him until then, but after that, we have our trip, and I can't cancel it. You shouldn't have to. Mom's voice hardened. This is unacceptable. I'm calling your brother right now. Mom, he blocked my number. I don't think he's going to listen to you either. Then he can explain himself to CPS. I'll call you back. She hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, trying to process how the day had spiraled so completely out of control. This morning, I'd woken up planning a toddler birthday party and packing for our trip. Now I was in the middle of a CPS investigation, my relationship with my twin brother potentially destroyed forever. My husband's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his expression shifted to something carefully neutral. It's your brother. Don't answer it. I think I should. He moved to the other room, and I heard his voice, calm and professional, the tone he used with difficult parents of his patients. I couldn't make out words, but the cadence told me everything. He was setting boundaries, holding firm. When he came back 10 minutes later, his face was grim. He wanted me to talk you out of the CPS report, said it was a family matter and should be handled privately. He sat down heavily. I told him that abandoning your child isn't a private matter, that you'd given him multiple opportunities to pick up his son and he'd refused, that blocking your number and then calling me to intervene was manipulative. How'd he take that? He hung up on me. He rubbed his face. Then called back and tried a different approach, said his wife was having a hard time and they needed space to work on their marriage, that we didn't understand the pressure they were under. The pressure of being parents? I couldn't keep the bitterness out of my voice. That's essentially what I said. He didn't like it. My husband looked at me. He threatened to report me to the medical board for interfering in family matters. My stomach dropped. What? It's an empty threat. I've done nothing wrong professionally, and this has nothing to do with my practice. But it shows you where his head is. He's panicking and lashing out. Because he knows he screwed up. Because CPS is probably knocking on his door right about now. As if on cue, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered it on speaker. Mrs. Peterson? The caseworker's voice was strained. I'm at your brother's residence. He's refusing to open the door, but I can hear people inside. His wife is yelling that they don't have to talk to me. I'm going to need to escalate this. What does that mean? It means I'm calling my supervisor and potentially the police for a welfare check. The parents are clearly home and clearly avoiding their responsibility. This is beyond a simple miscommunication. She paused. I wanted to let you know that this might get complicated. Your brother might claim you're making false reports or trying to take his child. These situations can get ugly. Let them get ugly. I surprised myself with how steady my voice was. I have documentation of everything. The truth is, on my side. Good. Keep your phone close. You might be getting some angry calls tonight. She was right. Over the next 2 hours, my phone exploded. First, my brother's wife, screaming obscenities about how I was trying to steal her baby. Then my brother's best friend, telling me I was tearing apart a family over a simple disagreement. Then my aunt, my brother's godmother, crying about how I was being cruel and vindictive. I blocked them all, every single one. I was done explaining myself, done justifying protecting a child, done with people who thought parenthood was optional when it got inconvenient. Around midnight, my mom called again. "The police are at their house," she said quietly. "Your brother posted about it on Facebook. He's saying you made a false CPS report to punish him." "Did you tell people the truth?" "I commented with the screenshots you sent me." Her voice was firm. "I'm not letting him lie about this. People need to know what really happened." I pulled up Facebook on my laptop. Sure enough, my brother had posted a long rant about vindictive family members and government overreach and how he was being persecuted for wanting to work on his marriage. The comments were initially sympathetic until my mom's appeared. She'd posted everything. The texts showing him flaking on lunch, his refusal to pick up his son, his wife's message telling me to keep the child, the timeline showing they'd been back in Florida for over 14 hours without seeing their child on his birthday. The comment section shifted. People started asking questions. Why hadn't they picked up their son? Why was the child with family for over a week? What was really going on? My brother deleted the post within 20 minutes, but by then, dozens of people had screenshot it. The truth was out there now, spreading through our extended family and friend groups like wildfire. My phone rang again. The caseworker. "Your brother and his wife have agreed to meet with me tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. at our office," she said. "They're required to present a plan for immediate reunification with their child or face potential charges of abandonment. I'll need you to bring him to the office." "Will I need to be there for the whole meeting?" "No, you'll drop him off, we'll handle the meeting with the parents, and then they'll take him home." She paused. "Unless they don't show up or don't have an adequate plan, then we'll need to discuss longer-term placement options." After I hung up, I sat in the dark living room, processing. This was almost over. Tomorrow morning, my nephew would be back with his parents, and I could try to piece together what was left of my family relationships. Except I knew it wasn't that simple. This wasn't something you came back from. The trust was shattered. The rose-colored glasses I'd been wearing about my brother were broken beyond repair. "Come to bed," my husband said gently from the doorway. "Tomorrow's going to be hard." He was right about that, too. Morning came too fast. I got all the kids ready, my own 6 plus my nephew, and loaded them into the van. My husband came with me for moral support. We pulled into the CPS office parking lot at 8:45. My brother's car was already there. "Do you want me to come in with you?" my husband asked. "No, stay with the kids." I unbuckled my nephew from his car seat. He smiled at me, completely trusting, and my heart broke a little. "I'll be right back." The office was sterile and depressing, with plastic chairs and outdated children's toys in the corner. My brother and his wife sat on one side of the waiting room. I walked in with their son on my hip. The little boy saw his parents and reached for them. "Mama! Dada!" Neither of them stood up. I stared at them, this couple who'd created this beautiful child, and then couldn't be bothered to hold him after over a week apart. My sister-in-law was scrolling through her phone. My brother was staring at the wall, his jaw clenched. "Your son missed you," I said quietly. My brother finally looked at me. His eyes were cold, empty of the warmth I'd known my whole life. "This is your fault." "No." I walked over and set my nephew down. He toddled toward his mother, who finally put down her phone and picked him up with visible reluctance. "This is yours. You did this. You abandoned your child and then got mad when there were consequences." "We didn't abandon anyone. We just needed more time." "You blocked my number and told me to keep him indefinitely. That's abandonment." I looked at his wife. "You told me to keep him so you could work on your marriage. A marriage you've left 4 times to cheat on him. Why are you even together?" She glared at me. "You don't know anything about our relationship." "I know you care more about it than you do about your son." I turned back to my brother. "I know I don't recognize who you've become. The brother I knew would never have missed his son's birthday, would never have chosen a toxic relationship over his child, would never have blocked me for asking him to be a parent." The caseworker appeared in the doorway. "We're ready for you."
My brother and his wife stood, gathering their son and his things. The little boy looked back at me over his mother's shoulder, waving. I waved back, blinking away tears. "Mrs. Peterson?" The caseworker gestured. "I'll need you to stay for a few minutes to sign some paperwork." I followed her to a small office. She closed the door and handed me several forms. "They're getting him back?" I asked. "For now. They've agreed to parenting classes and family counseling. We'll be doing home visits." She met my eyes. "You did the right thing, even if it doesn't feel like it. It feels like I destroyed my family. You protected a child. Sometimes those things look the same." She paused. "For what it's worth, cases like this often expose problems that were already there. You didn't create this situation. You just refused to enable it anymore." I signed the papers and left. In the parking lot, my brother's car was pulling away. He didn't look at me, didn't wave, just drove off with his wife and child like I didn't exist. My husband pulled me into a hug when I got back to the van. "It's done. It's done." We drove home in silence. That afternoon, we finished packing for our trip. Thursday morning, we loaded up the van with 6 kids, suitcases, and Halloween costumes for the trick-or-treat event at the lodge. We drove away from Florida and the mess I'd left behind. At the water park, watching my kids scream with joy on the slides, I finally let myself breathe. I'd done what I had to do. I'd protected a child when his own parents wouldn't. I'd set boundaries and held them even when it cost me everything. My phone buzzed, a text from my mom. "Your brother and his wife picked up their son. CPS is staying involved. You were right to call. I'm proud of you." I showed my husband. He smiled and squeezed my hand. "No regrets?" he asked. I watched my kids playing, thought about my nephew, hopefully safe at home with parents who were finally being held accountable, and shook my head. No regrets. Some bridges you burn because they were built on quicksand anyway. Some relationships you lose because they were already lost. And sometimes protecting the vulnerable means standing alone. I could live with that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have called CPS on family or tried to handle it differently?